Welcome Survivor. As I predicted last week in my video, we would see 19.5 come in May, and actually it came a little bit earlier than I thought. I thought it would be maybe 10 days later, but we actually got it today. So this is really good. Alpha 19.5 has hit experimental. Now it's just experimental, so you will have to opt into it yourself, and the way to do that they have described here. You right click on the game in Steam, click on properties, click on the betas tab, and select latest experimental, and just wait for it to download, and you will have 19.5 experimental. I will say 19.5 and B50, I believe. It won't say experimental as such, but that's what it is, and you have to opt into it. And this is going to be called really the Twitch update, because that's the biggest thing in there. They have the Twitch integration, and I will go into more details of this one, but let me go through the rest of the patch note. There's also a bunch of performance improvements, optimizations that they've been doing, and a very minor thing, Keybind, to change the vehicle controls on gamepad while on a vehicle. So I'm going to go through all three of this one, but not necessarily in this order, because the Twitch integration has a lot of information. So you know how to opt into it, to try it out. Make sure if you're doing this on an existing save, take a backup, please, because things can go wrong. So, added, and this is B50 that we have right now. First version of the Twitch integration. Thank you, Lathan. I know he's been working on this for a long time. He's been showing it off on his streams. He's been testing it out, and it's awesome. Thank you very much for putting this in, Lathan. I'm not sure whether this was Lathan's sort of pet project that he was working on his nights and weekends and stuff like that, but it's really cool that he's been spending time and gotten this done. I was asking the FunPimps for years, literally, to put in some Twitch integration. So thank you very much. I know a lot of people who don't use Twitch, who don't stream, you might not care, and for you, unfortunately, it's going to be, and it shouldn't take any extra performances, shouldn't hit the performance. As long as you don't use it, it's not being used. So, but for those of us who do stream, and those of us who watch streams, it's actually really good thing, because it helps to engage with the viewers, engage with other people in more multiplayer setting, not just when we're playing together in the game in the same party, for instance. So anyway, they've been doing voxel mesh pooling, which I guess is optimization, chunk decal and model dithering fading, again optimization, distant terrain decreases mesh detail when farther, again optimization, GFX dtmaxlod, I don't know what this maxlod. Level detail. Oh, again, optimization, I guess, is how high the level of detail is going to be. And now allow selection of steering mode and controls by pressing D-pad down. Good, because this, I guess, was a bit of a problem. So they'll go through a bunch of things here, like garbage and improve show stability, add distant POIs, use the shared material, chunk LLE, optimize, and optimize. So a lot of small optimizations. I don't think you'll see something specifically, but it should make the game run a little bit smoother, hopefully. How much is really hard to tell. We have a few things that have been fixed as well. Zombies fighting at Barn Seer 2. What? Where they fight? Maybe they were fighting right next to the loot container, which was not good. Dedicated servers failed to update bedroll locations after pickup. Actually, that's interesting. I didn't realize this was happening, but obviously this is a big problem. If it was there, maybe it's been there and I just haven't realized it. Block previews have difference in shading at night. Yes, that was a problem. It's difficult to see. I know they've been changing that for Alpha 20 with that whole block selection thingy, the shape menu. Block preview for normal blocks leaking and mesh on each update. Not really sure what that is. Good, they fixed it, I guess. Create mesh having to destroy unneeded colliders. Good. Empty voxel meshes were being created. Not good for performance. Obviously, if they're not going to be used, then they shouldn't be created. Now, they're talking about the distant POI as well. Distant POI could load and leak extra invisible objects. Again, it just performance. I mean, if it's not going to be shown, no point to load it. And I guess same thing as hell. Chunk level detail update not using XZ center for distance. So maybe it was something that was wrong. I'm not really sure specifically what you're going to see with these things, but again, good thing that they're fixing this. So what it really means, if you don't use the Twitch integration and you don't use the gamepad, you probably don't see much of interest, and you probably should not be spending time on this one, because I would say it's mostly something that is going to be a benefit for people streaming, or if you find maybe you want to stream yourself in the future, who knows, because otherwise I would just pass on this one, wait until it goes stable, and then you'll get it automatically already. But Are you interested in the Twitch integration pieces? Well, there's actually a lot of information out there, which I'm really glad that they've done. So let's go look at the next one where they talk about Twitch integration. Of course, that's the Twitch logo, and they talk about how you can invite your Twitch viewers to challenge your apocalypse with the Twitch integration. When they chat during live stream, they generate pinpoints. These points are then used to interact with your game to prolong or hinder your survival. Mostly people like to kill people. I mean, kill the streamer and kill each other, which is, I guess, how it should be. And when they cheered with bits during the stream, they gain special points, and these are special because they can be used today or hoarded for another day. They are, in other words, persistent. And there is a very long Twitch integration guide. I'm going to go through very quickly because there's a lot of things in there, and then I'm going to show that in-game as well. But wait. Have you followed my Twitch? If you haven't, make sure you go to twitch.tv/videoe42 and give me a follow there. And why not like this video while you're at it, and subscribe if that's your preference as well. So they're talking about the Twitch integration, and there's a lot of information about it. So you definitely go, if you're doing this, go download it and try it out, look through. So they're talking about how you actually access it, and if found in-game through the escape menu, and not difficult to find, and I'll show you in a little bit. And it works single player, well, of course, it's single player, P2P and POE, dedicated, multiplayer, etc. And actually you can have multiple streamers using it at the same time, and it will affect the game, which is actually, how does that work? That just struck me. Because let's say, well, you need to have a permission level. So I was thinking about how do they do that so people don't randomly just start it. But there is a default 90 of permission level that you need to have in order to access this, which means that you'll need to give your friends a permission level in the configs in order for them to actually use this. And you probably need to do that for yourself if you are using a multiplayer server as well. So that has the connection status as well, and it talks about a lot of these things, and I'll go through that in game. Is a little bit easier as well, and all this stuff. And so there's a pretty long document here that you can read through, because it does have a bunch of information of how these things work. For instance, they will be spawned with a purple, which means it's yours. They spawn towards you, and not necessarily that they will always try to kill you, but if you die, they will all vanish. So sort of they're around for you. They're intended for you. Same thing for supply drops as well. And whoever spawned will get the kill points. You'll get the points for when your spawn causes the death, which means that direct or even with the bleed damage and stuff like that, you do get the credit for killing the person. And I believe that if there is a pot of gold, or sorry, the pot of points that has been associated, then you will actually get that as well if you were the person who caused the death of the streamer. So go ahead and make sure you kill everyone. Also important, people will be able to opt out of the Twitch integration if they are on the same party as a streamer, which I think is really important, because some people might want to be in the party but don't actually want to have these things being spawned on them. Like you see here, the two spawns. This one, which because it's purple, means it's been spawned on the streamer itself, and this one has a white, which means it might have been spawned on someone else. And even though it's going to try to kill you as well, it's not going to vanish if you die, but the purple one will. So it's sort of been tagged, and it tells you how people actually spawn on others, which is basically just spawn normal, and if you add on a 1, 2, 3, etc., or the name of the person, it will then target that party member instead. So how do we do this? Well, I'm going to escape, and I'm going to go to options here, and you'll see the Twitch, and this is how you log into the Twitch, and that basically will pop up and access asking you to authorize the game. I'll do that for myself, which is obviously a videoe42 because that's me. Once that has been done, it'll say, yep, it's connected, or rather it will tell you to disconnect if you want to do. And here's where you can select certain things. Let's say you don't want to have the vision effects like blur or black and white. You can actually disable that, which is actually a really cool thing, because some people really hate those ones. And they'll talk about actions during the blood moon, standard cooldown only, meaning that can you do it, or will it just drop down the cooldown? You have to wait until it's over. How many points you get? You can normally just get 1 point per 10 seconds for 5 minutes after talking. Of course, if you don't talk at all, you get no points. If you talk a lot, you'll get more over time, or you can double, triple, etc., etc. Whether you use a progression, when there is actually an XML in this system that you can actually tweak to your heart's content as well, but they have a bunch of a bunch of controls here, which is really good, that you can just specify within the game whether you want to have a progression, yes or no, whether it's just going to be all of them, how the cooldown work, hardcore, no cooldown, or just default, how long they're going to take, double or half time, for instance, whether you're going to have the pin pot or not, and we're going to allow crate stealing or not, meaning that if someone spawns in, let's say, a weapon crate for myself, for me, Video42, will other players be able to access it? And if it says yes, they will be able to. No, they will not be able to. So we're going to go back here and we'll see there's a cooldown here on this side. It's going to take some time before that one counts down. There's normally a 5-minute cooldown when you go into the game. I'm sure that can be tweaked. Actually, that probably can be tweaked even in... Let's see, can I go here? Cooldown preset. Always... Not sure. I'm sure there's a way to cancel the cooldown anyway for that. But anyway, let's go and check. You can actually pause it. Pause and start here if you want to keep it going. But let's keep up. No. Come on. I'm trying to show something, I think. You click the gear and you'll be able to see a bunch of things here as a streamer. You'll be able to see what are all the actions, for instance, the spawn, supplies, etc. Which is, there's quite a few of them. And you also see the action history, which means if people have been spawning things in, you'll be able to tell who and what action as well. And there'll be a bunch of pages here. And leaderboard, which has to do with how many kills has the viewers actually gotten. So if we see, for instance, JC here has gotten 3 kills, they'll see it say JC and 3 kill. If we have Sorge here with 200 kills, they'll say 200 kills as well. I think it's just for me as a streamer. It won't count it for other people, but it could. I am not 100% sure how that is done. Let's say I'm in a party of 5 and it actually ends up killing one of the person in the party. Will that count as a kill? Good question. I think it should only count the kills for me. It would be interesting how they actually handle that. We'll find out. There are some of these things that are not very specified in detail, but it's some basics, and we'll figure that out as we go along with this one. And again, this is the first version of it, so there's going to be a lot of changes in there as well. So while we're waiting for that cooldown to tick down, let's go and have a look at the twitch.xml, which is in the Steam folder, Steam apps, common, the 7 days to die, data config, and then twitch.xml. And here's where you configure things, all the things actually regarding this one. For instance, how many points do people have when they start off? What's the cap for the regular points? And that's 1,000 for regular people and 2,000 for people who are subscribed to you. And whether they can access the crate or not, where they can steal them. There is a stealing crate event. I'm not really sure what happens. They've been alluding to that. You can actually set that as well. You know, what happens when someone steals your crate. Maybe it'll spawn in a lot of zombies, for instance. That will be interesting. We'll find out. I'll have to try that out as well on my channel. And as we go down, there's a lot of things in there that you can actually tweak as well. For instance, the default cost you can play around with. If you think 25 is too high, too low, just change that as well. Same thing with the game stage. Some of them are linked to the game stage, meaning that they will only spawn on the game stage that is the equivalent or higher. Meaning that, for instance, the normal zombie can always be spawned because there's no game stage and the limit in there. Tough zombie will have a game stage of 10 starting game stage. It will only show up when your game stage is 10 or higher. A tough feral zombie is 60, and we see a tough rat zombie is 110, etc. So this is something that is supposed to help scale as the player progresses into the game. Higher level, higher day count, and I guess better equipment. The amount of spawns that are available as well, that is the list that is in there, meaning that, let me get back to this one of viewer. I'm not a viewer. What? And of course I exit out of the game instead of clicking the correct buttons here. Anyway, so these are the different ones that are being spawned in here. It actually will mention about which game stage that they appear, their cooldown, etc. And that's all linked to the actual file, the twitch.xml file, which is basically defining all these things. So if you want to change these things, you basically change this file. Make sure you make a copy of it just in case you mess it up. What I think we're going to see people making up and changing all these ones, adding on things, changing them into whatever is specifics they like, and then sharing it across the community so we can all try out something different without having to very manually and tediously have to go through all these things ourselves. So this is going to be a really nice thing, and this is one of the really good things about 7 Days to Die. They're using XML file, which makes it really easy for us to modify ourselves and then share with our friends, share with other streamers, share with other players in order for them to use that as well. Same as all the mods and everything. So I'm really happy to see that being a part of the game. It makes it so much easier if you want to change the default cost, you want to change the cooldown, etc. Aha! And here we found, or I found actually, I believe this is the default one. This is the start cooldown, the one that has 5-minute countdown. Apparently also has the 5-minute death cooldown. And this is something that I would probably personally end up changing. I'd probably set it to something like 30 seconds something. I think 5 minutes is a little bit too much because, you know, sort of like you die to something and it takes 5 minutes before people can actually throw new things at you. I think that's gets a little bit dull. Again, the view that the Lathan has communicated is that they want it to be so that you can actually continue playing the game even while you're having all these things happening for you in the game. It's not supposed to be ruining the game so you actually keep dying over and over and over again. But the nice thing about being able to customize is that if you want to have a harder experience, you can do that as well. We're going to see here the cooldown is finally finishing, going down to 0, and it's going to enable, you'll see it basically... Oh yeah, there was tune. Oh, that scared me. That little tune. It basically tells you, and I think these one are going to keep on switching between each other, so you can actually see that when you're playing. But basically, if someone had 100 points, they would be able to supply weapon, and in order to give me a weapon, they could regenerate, they could give you fast, they could give you slow, energize, they could give you some different things like scared and everything. And you can see the early on things is basically because my game stage is so low. There are no zombies or anything. It's basically only showing... Well, actually, they spawn normal. Sorry, there's the spawn normal. But beyond that, there's nothing bad that can happen, except maybe blur and slow. Most of these things are kind of nice. You can, for instance, pull. I don't know why it says this one. Maybe because it's disabled because of the low game stage. But basically, it's meant to make it easy for you in the beginning. And then slowly, as your game stage ramps up, and you'll see my game stage is just 1, and this is another thing, my Twitch is enabled, so you see that lightning bolt as well, but my game stage is so low, so they want to be very careful about what they throw at you. And as your game stage goes up, let me see, give self experience, let's do that. I am now game stage 43. You see suddenly all these things unlocked because now... And now, sorry, I thought that was something because I keep hearing that sound. Now there's a bunch more things that they can actually give because the game stage is higher, meaning that the player has progressed into the game and is ready for a bit more of a challenge. So that's really nice that they've done it this way. They put in some default. If you want to make it harder or easier, you can do that, but at least it gives you basics for how to get this started. So maybe you're not excited about this, but I really am. And if you want to test this out, then you should join me on one of my streams. And if you don't watch Twitch, I can understand this not being very cool, but I really do like it. And I hope this is going to be something that people do appreciate. I do hope that it's not going to be one of the main features that is going into Alpha 20 because, you know, it's in Alpha 19.5. It's not even Alpha 20. So please give us some really good features in Alpha 20 as well. This really shouldn't be the main thing, even though I was a little bit surprised that they actually released it in Alpha 19 and didn't wait for Alpha 20. But if you're still with me, thank you very much for watching, and let me know in the comment section below of would you ever use this if you're streaming, and if you don't enjoy the Twitch stuff like that, what else would you like them to put into the game? Do you think that they should stop here at 19.5, or do you expect a 19.6 before we get Alpha 20? And I still hope we get Alpha 20 in June. But have a wonderful weekend. I'll catch you again next time.
Special thanks to the great patrons supporting the channel. If you would like to join the vetted community and support these videos, do follow the Patreon link.